anchoring oneself in creative flow. It comes from our Rubin. Okay? Whatever that means, but he is ours. The question that keeps coming up for me after years of practicing and immersing myself in the immersions is about the power of Shakti that is revealed and manifested in this work. We are an expression of the divine and the power of creation, which is pure potentiality. And yet, it often happens on the path that I feel disconnected from this inspiring force. As an artist, there are always physical tendencies that come up that seem to suppress my creative power, but peak during and after immersion. How can I anchor myself to continuously drink from the source and fully immerse myself in the creative flow? Is it even possible to sink into it and live from it if you don't have access to the field in the immersions? It's a good question. It's a good and a kind of that have the quality of sobriety to it, you see? Every mystic in every culture, and particularly where this is given a certain poetic expression, that freedom, that license, speaks to that, speaks to these moments of complete and utter union, communion, moments of that, and how these moments subside, and one is then left with days of that sober existence. It's proverbial, classical, poetically expressed in so many ways, through so many different tongues. What is it speaks to? What is it speaking to? The unique feature of our immersions in this case is this aspect of rapid acceleration. Rapid acceleration. All of you know that. Time itself often experienced warped differently. There is this kind of quality of at once or both extreme transparency and viscosity. There is this sense of space-time itself is altered. And of course, it is altered. If it's not, then it wouldn't be what it is. Because only in that altered space-time, the great possibility for great transformation takes place. And that's what the field is known for. That's how one refers to the field. The field here, you want to call it the field of Shakti or just the field, is always greater than any parts that come to contribute into the formation of that field. This needs to be understood. You see? So it's like all these individual outpourings are, of course, then shared in the way of partaking. And in the way of partaking, in the immersion itself, it's often granted. So one way or another, one will be summoned into that field unless one really, really puts up a fight and somehow consciously or subconsciously resists to the field. This is why when people you have witnessed share a certain hesitation, reservation, you can't really encourage anyone except for, as you have realized, to invite them to relax into it, to whatever degree they can. The relaxation in itself is the highest form here. The being able to give in. Because somehow there are these also mechanisms at work that prevents us from that what at times may feel either not compatible with how we chime at a given moment in time, which is fine. This is largely due to certain, quite frankly, well-known psychological tendencies. It's like when you come to a new school, in the first week, you are the new kid on the block. And it's kind of like you either want to prove yourself and you start getting all this kind of, or you shine in a corner. So it's normal. It's absolutely expected. But I'm talking about the tendencies that sometimes are protecting that what we know is here to melt. So, and not that what I'm saying it's not exactly answering your question just yet, but what I'm saying is that so that you understand, first of all, or first and foremost, that contrast between what you experienced at the immersions and that peak that you speak of during and after the immersion, that peak of creativity, how we all feel much more alive. This is also very well known. Hopefully this is how the work should be known. It should be known for that what makes everything more alive. Water as an element has many different states. It's water in the ice. It doesn't move. The fluidity is only given when certain temperature is there for it to gain its fluidity, for it to regain its state of flow. Now, whether this is possible to arise or attend or attain to such degree that this is experienced, right, in the same way as it is accessed during the immersions. It is my job to reassure you that of course it is possible. It is those vortexes that I just spoke about. We are subjected to vortexes out there, and we are going to plug ourselves to this or that vortex, you see? Oh, that vortex, I'm going to go to Sedona or somewhere else, that vortex, I'm going to sit there, I'm going to meditate. The greatest vortex is here at all times. There is no greater vortex. So, ultimately speaking, the whole job is here is for that vortex to be amplified and to its maximum capacity, to the fullness of its capacity, which is velocity of such frequency, of such high frequency, that you live at the level of creative expression at all times. Absolutely all times. You may get tired neurophysiologically here speaking, but that creativity never gets tired, because the creativity itself is not subjected. You see? It's only temporarily, as it were, conditioned by the state of the body. And this is what Tantra is most apologetic about. Because one of the loftiest aspirations that has ever been perhaps spoken with such loud clarity as what is exemplified by the state of Samavesha. It is more known to those of you who are coming from that yogic background, Jivan Mukta. In yogic tradition, it is referred to as Jivan Mukta, liberated whilst alive. Okay, literal translation is not that. Literal translation is Jiva, soul, right? Mukta, mukti. It's this preciousness, pearl. So it's like realizing the preciousness of the soul. But the more of that translation of the meaning of Jivan Mukta, it literally means liberated whilst alive, or at times spoken of as liberated whilst in the body, not when the body is left to be merged with elements through the process of decomposure. No, liberated whilst in the body. Most religious traditions you take and speak of, it's a blasphemy. In the latest video just now released by our team yesterday, many people who otherwise may be very sympathetic to my discourses felt offended on the take, or about the take on the avatar when I spoke about reincarnation. It's a supremely important and complex question. And when the lady asked me this question in Poland just now, not long ago, I was faced with the choice, how can I respond to this question? When my own teacher, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, was known to decline any invitation to speak on the subject of reincarnation. He was known. Reincarnation, let's talk about carnations, not reincarnations, you know. But he was also known for saying, reincarnation is for the ignorant. So of course I had to take immediate choice to respond slightly tongue-in-cheek, lightheartedly on a supremely important thing. Check that video, folks, those of you who haven't seen it. And read the comments, how some people felt offended. Every Buddhist and Hindu will get offended because there is an attempt to debunk this at the highest possible level. And that's what it means. Exactly. That's exactly what it means here. When we are in a state of that samavesha, as it is known, because remember, we spoke about it only recently, samavesha is a process until samavesha becomes one state. So in Kashmir Shaivism, samavesha stands for that liberated whilst alive, liberated in the body. Whatever happens with disembodiment, it doesn't matter. If consciousness is returned to consciousness, homogeneity of consciousness, or goes into the endless waves of transmigratory existence, it doesn't matter to this moment of this embodiment, is it not? And the sense of identity is an indispensable accompanying aspect of how consciousness chooses to express itself. It's far cry from the non-dual drill of when consciousness doesn't identify with anything. No, it's not like that at all. When consciousness doesn't identify with anything, it either an undesirable state of depersonalization, which is clinically can be spoken of as pathology. It's not at all abiding in Brahman. Other than that, consciousness always identifies. It's the language of consciousness. The very fact that this existence is, it's an end through an act of identity. More, we should come back to this on any occasion, whenever we can. So please hold me to that in our future gatherings.